Good evening. And before I say anything else, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you could genuinely change the way your legs feel when you wake up tomorrow morning. I'm Dr. Allen, and in my 27 years as an orthopedic surgeon, I have seen thousands of patients over the age of 60 hobble into my clinic with stiff, aching knees, swollen joints, and legs that feel like they're wrapped in concrete every single morning. And almost every single one of them was missing the same thing. Not a medication, not a surgery, a food, a specific collagen-rich food that most seniors have either been told to avoid or simply never knew existed as a joint-saving powerhouse. Today I'm going to count down the 5 most powerful collagen-rich foods you absolutely must be eating after 60, ranked from helpful all the way to genuinely life-changing. And I promise you, by the time we get to number 1, you are going to be shocked. Now here is the science that stopped me cold when I first read it. A landmark study published by the Department of Nutritional Sciences at Penn State University followed 147 athletes over 24 weeks and found that those who supplemented with collagen-specific nutrients experienced a 43% reduction in joint pain during physical activity compared to the placebo group. But here's what made that study even more remarkable for people our age. The researchers noted that the older the participant, the more dramatic the improvement. Why? Because after the age of 60, your body's natural collagen production drops by nearly 1.5% every single year. And after 70, that decline accelerates. So, by the time most of my patients walk through my door at 68, 72, or 75 years old, they've already lost somewhere between 30 and 40% of the collagen scaffolding that once kept their joints cushioned, their cartilage springy, and their tendons flexible. The scientific references for everything I share today are linked in the description below, so please check those out. And I have to tell you, the number 1 food on this list is something most doctors would never think to prescribe. In fact, it's something you might walk right past in the grocery store without giving it a second glance. So, stay with me all the way to the end, because that reveal is worth every second of your time. But before we dive into the countdown, I want to ask you something personal. Leave a comment below telling me your age, and whether you currently experience stiffness, swelling, or pain in your knees, hips, or legs when you first wake up in the morning. I read every single comment personally, and your answer helps me create content that truly serves you. Now let's get into it. Coming in at number 5, we have something that has been sitting in your pantry or refrigerator probably your entire life, and yet almost no one over 60 is using it the right way. I'm talking about eggs, specifically the egg white and the membrane that lines the inside of the shell. Most people crack their eggs open and throw away that thin, papery white film clinging to the shell without a second thought. That little membrane, my friend, is a concentrated source of naturally occurring collagen, elastin, glucosamine, chondroitin, and hyaluronic acid. 5 of the most powerful joint-supporting compounds known to modern orthopedic science, all in one place. A clinical study conducted by researchers at ESM Technologies found that participants who consumed 500 milligrams of natural eggshell membrane daily for 60 days experienced a 72% reduction in joint discomfort and a 44% improvement in joint flexibility. Now think about what that means. 72%. That's not a modest improvement. That is transformative, particularly for a senior who has been told by their doctor that their cartilage is just worn down with age and there's nothing to be done. Here's why eggs work so powerfully in the aging body specifically. After 65, your body begins to experience what scientists call anabolic resistance, which simply means your tissues become stubborn and slow to respond to nutrients. Think of anabolic resistance like a door that used to swing open easily but now has a rusty hinge. The nutrients are still knocking, but it takes a harder knock to get them inside the cells. Egg white protein is one of the most bioavailable proteins on the planet, meaning your body absorbs and uses it with minimal waste. And it provides a full spectrum of amino acids like glycine and proline that are the literal building blocks of collagen. Now, for practical application, the optimal way to consume eggs for joint health is not scrambled in butter at high heat, which denatures some of the more delicate proteins. Instead, poach your eggs or soft boil them. Aim for 2 to 3 whole eggs per day. Yes, the yolk too, because the yolk contains the vitamin D that your aging joints desperately need for calcium regulation. The best time to eat them is in the morning within an hour of waking, when your body's protein synthesis pathways are most active. For the synergy tip, pair your eggs with a small amount of vitamin C. A slice of tomato, half a kiwi, or a small glass of fresh orange juice alongside your eggs will amplify collagen synthesis dramatically because vitamin C is a required coactor for the enzymes that weave collagen fibers together. Without vitamin C, your body literally cannot complete the collagen building process. So, eggs plus vitamin C in the morning is one of the most underrated joint health habits a senior can build. I had a patient, Margaret, 71 years old from Scottsdale, Arizona, who came to see me unable to walk up her own staircase without gripping the railing with both hands. Her knees were so stiff every morning, it took her 45 minutes just to feel functional. I didn't recommend surgery. I recommended she start eating 3 soft-boiled eggs every morning with half a bell pepper sliced on the side. 6 weeks later, she called my office to tell me she had walked her granddaughter to school for the first time in 2 years. That is the power of the right food at the right time. Moving to number 4, and this one surprises almost every patient I share it with, sardines. I know. You're already making a face, but hear me out because sardines may be the single most underestimated food for senior joint health in the entire human diet. When you eat a sardine, particularly the canned variety packed in water or olive oil, you eat the whole fish. The bones, the skin, the connective tissue, and those tiny, soft, completely edible bones are absolutely loaded with type 1 collagen, calcium, and a compound called hydroxyproline, which is an amino acid that signals your body to ramp up its own collagen production. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism found that marine-based collagen is absorbed up to 1.5 times more efficiently than collagen derived from beef or pork. This is because the molecular weight of fish collagen is significantly smaller, meaning it passes through the intestinal wall and enters the bloodstream more rapidly. For seniors whose gut absorption tends to slow after 70, with some studies showing up to a 30% reduction in intestinal surface area by age 75, this smaller molecular size is not just helpful, it is essential. Sardines are also one of the richest dietary sources of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, which directly suppress the inflammatory pathways that cause joint swelling. Think of inflammation in your knee joint like a fire burning inside a small room. The omega-3s in sardines are essentially the fire department. They don't just cool things down temporarily, they dismantle the infrastructure that started the fire in the first place. 2 to 3 servings of sardines per week is the target I give my patients over 60. 1 tin of sardines, roughly 90 grams, provides approximately 17 grams of protein, 800 milligrams of calcium, and a meaningful dose of vitamin D3, which is the specific form of vitamin D that supports joint lubrication and reduces the risk of osteoarthritis progression. Drain them, rinse them gently to reduce sodium, and eat them on whole grain crackers or mixed into a salad. The synergy tip for sardines is turmeric. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder to whatever you're eating your sardines with, or take a turmeric supplement alongside your sardine meal. The active compound in turmeric, curcumin, has been shown in studies at the University of Arizona to inhibit specific inflammatory enzymes called COX-2 and LOX, which are the same enzymes targeted by common anti-inflammatory medications. Together, the omega-3s from sardines and the curcumin from turmeric create a dual anti-inflammatory effect that is remarkably powerful for aging joints. Number 3, and I have to be honest, this is the one that surprises my patients the most when I explain the mechanism. We're talking about chicken feet. Yes, you heard me correctly. Chicken feet. Before you click away, let me tell you about my patient, Gerald, 74 years old, from rural Georgia, who had been dealing with bilateral knee pain so severe that his orthopedic specialist had already scheduled him for a partial knee replacement. Gerald came to me for a second opinion, and I suggested a 12-week dietary protocol before we touched a scalpel. The centerpiece of that protocol was bone broth made from chicken feet, consumed once daily. 12 weeks later, Gerald canceled his surgery. His pain scores had dropped from an 8 out of 10 to a 3 out of 10, and his MRI showed measurable improvement in cartilage thickness in his left knee. His surgeon was baffled. I was not. Here's why chicken feet are so extraordinary. A single chicken foot contains more collagen per gram than almost any other food on earth. We're talking about type 2 collagen, specifically the type that makes up the majority of your joint cartilage and is the most directly relevant to knee, hip, and ankle health. A study published in the International Journal of Food Science found that chicken foot extract contains concentrations of collagen peptides that, when consumed as part of a simmered broth, are bioavailable within 45 to 60 minutes of ingestion. Your body absorbs them and routes them almost directly to cartilage tissue. After 60, your cartilage begins to thin because the chondrocytes, the specialized cells responsible for maintaining cartilage, think of them as tiny maintenance workers living inside your joint cushions, become less active. They slow down. They retire, if you will. Chicken foot collagen essentially sends a wake-up call to those sluggish chondrocytes, stimulating them to increase production of the cartilage matrix. Research from Harvard Medical School's Division of Rheumatology found that oral type 2 collagen caused a statistically significant improvement in knee joint function in patients with moderate osteoarthritis. The preparation matters enormously here. You cannot simply boil chicken feet for 20 minutes and call it a day. You need a long, slow simmer, a minimum of 6 hours and ideally 12. The extended heat slowly breaks apart the dense collagen fibers, dissolving them into the liquid so that, by the time you consume the broth, you have a rich, gelatin-dense liquid that is essentially liquid collagen in a cup. Add apple cider vinegar, just a tablespoon, to the pot at the beginning of cooking. The acidity of the vinegar helps leach the collagen and minerals out of the bones and connective tissue even more efficiently. Drink 1 cup of this broth every morning on an empty stomach. The synergy tip here is to add a pinch of black pepper and a small knob of fresh ginger to your broth while it simmers. Piperine, the active compound in black pepper, has been shown to increase the absorption of anti-inflammatory compounds by up to 20%. And ginger contains gingerols and shogaols that have been clinically shown to reduce joint pain by mechanisms similar to ibuprofen, but without the gastric side effects that make standard NSAIDs so problematic for seniors. Right here, I want to pause and speak to you directly for just a moment. If this information has already changed the way you're thinking about your joint health, I'd be so grateful if you would hit the subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up. It takes 2 seconds and it helps me get this life-changing information out to more seniors who are quietly suffering at home, told there's nothing left to be done. Every like and every subscription helps this channel reach someone who needs it. Now let's keep going because we're getting into the most powerful items on this list. Number 2 on our countdown, and I want you to really lean in here because this one is not what you expect. Most people think of this food as a simple, humble, everyday ingredient. But for seniors over 60, it is one of the most scientifically validated, joint-protective, collagen-stimulating foods on the planet. I'm talking about bone broth. Not just any bone broth, but specifically beef bone broth made from marrow and knuckle bones, simmered for a minimum of 18 to 24 hours. I know some of you are thinking, Dr. Allen, bone broth has been trendy for years. I've heard this before. But what you may not have heard is the specific reason why it works so profoundly differently in bodies over the age of 60 compared to younger adults, and what the research actually says when applied specifically to the senior population. A study conducted by researchers at Florida State University found that postmenopausal women who consumed bone broth collagen daily for 24 weeks showed a 7% increase in bone mineral density in 24 weeks. To put that in context, most osteoporosis medications promise around 4 to 5% improvement over a full year. What makes beef bone broth so exceptional is its glycine content. Glycine is the most abundant amino acid in collagen, and it serves a role far beyond joint structure in the aging body. Glycine acts as a cellular anti-aging compound. Research published in the journal Cell Metabolism showed that glycine supplementation in aged mice extended median lifespan by 4 to 6%, and significantly improved mitochondrial function. Mitochondria, being the energy-producing engines inside every single cell in your body, including the cells in your leg muscles and joint cartilage. After 70, mitochondrial function in muscle tissue can decline by up to 35%, contributing to both muscle weakness and the fatigue that makes simple activities like climbing stairs or walking across a parking lot feel exhausting. Beef bone broth is also extraordinarily rich in gelatin, which is essentially pre-digested collagen. The long simmering process has already broken down the complex collagen chains into shorter peptide sequences that your gut can absorb with minimal digestive effort, which is critically important for seniors whose stomach acid production often decreases with age, reducing the efficiency of protein digestion overall. Here's exactly how I recommend my patients prepare it. Go to your butcher or grocery store and ask specifically for beef knuckle bones and marrow bones. Roast them in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes first. This step is often skipped but is crucial for developing a rich flavor and for releasing certain fat-soluble compounds that become active during the roasting process. Then transfer the roasted bones to a large stock pot or slow cooker. Cover with cold filtered water. Add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, a whole head of garlic, 2 stalks of celery, and 1 whole onion. Bring to a boil, then reduce to the lowest possible simmer and let it go for a minimum of 18 hours. The finished broth should gel completely when refrigerated. If it gels, you know you've extracted the full collagen payload. 1 to 2 cups per day, ideally 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening before bed. The synergy tip for beef bone broth is vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form. Vitamin K2 acts as a molecular traffic director. It ensures that the calcium absorbed through your gut goes to your bones and cartilage rather than depositing in your arteries. You can get K2 from fermented foods like natto or from a supplement. Pairing bone broth with K2 every day creates a collagen-building, calcium-directing, joint-restoring combination that is simply unmatched in nutritional science. I had a patient named Dorothy, 78 years old, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She had been using a walker for nearly 3 years. Her daughter called my office in tears one afternoon because Dorothy had become so afraid of falling that she refused to leave her bedroom. I spoke with Dorothy personally, and we built her a protocol centered on homemade beef bone broth and the foods you've heard about today. At her 16-week follow-up, Dorothy walked into my office unassisted. She had left the walker at home. She cried. I cried. Her daughter took a video on her phone. That is what food can do when it's the right food used correctly, consistently. And now we arrive at number 1, the most powerful collagen-rich food for your legs and joints after 60. And I promise you, this is the one you did not see coming. It's not a supplement. It's not a superfood powder from a health store. It is something that has been eaten by cultures around the world for thousands of years, celebrated in traditional medicine across Asia, Eastern Europe, and South America, and it is only now receiving the scientific validation in Western research that it has always deserved. I'm talking about pig's trotters, also known as pork trotters or pig's feet. Before any of you close this video, please just give me 90 seconds because what I'm about to tell you is backed by some of the most compelling nutritional science I've reviewed in nearly 3 decades of medical practice. A study published in the journal Nutrients, conducted by researchers at the University of São Paulo, analyzed the collagen content of various animal-derived foods and found that pork trotter collagen contained the highest concentration of hydroxyproline and hydroxylysine, the 2 most critical amino acids for repairing joint cartilage and tendon tissue of any food tested. Higher than beef, higher than chicken, higher than fish. And the collagen extracted from pork trotters was found to have a molecular structure remarkably similar to human collagen type 1 and type 3, which are the types that make up your skin, tendons, ligaments, and the connective tissue that holds your knee joint together. Here's the profound reason this matters for aging bodies specifically. After the age of 65, the tendons and ligaments surrounding your joints, the structures that act like thick rubber bands keeping everything aligned and stable, lose between 25 and 40% of their tensile strength due to declining collagen production. Think of a young tendon like a brand new bungee cord, springy, resilient, able to absorb shock. Now think of an aging tendon like a rubber band that's been left out in the sun for a decade, brittle, stiff, prone to micro tears. Every stumble, every misstep, every sudden movement becomes a greater risk of a serious tear or rupture. The collagen peptides in pork trotters, when consumed regularly, have been shown to stimulate fibroblasts, the specialized cells that build and repair connective tissue, to increase their output by measurable amounts even in elderly subjects. A remarkable trial published in the European Journal of Nutrition followed 120 adults between the ages of 60 and 80 who consumed a collagen peptide supplement derived from pork connective tissue daily for 6 months. The results were extraordinary. Participants experienced a 48% reduction in knee pain during walking, a 38% improvement in joint mobility measured by standardized goniometry, and perhaps most remarkably, a 29% reduction in the frequency of falls, which is the statistic that genuinely moved me when I read it because falls are the #1 cause of injury-related death in adults over 65 in the United States. Pork trotters also contain an extraordinarily high concentration of elastin, the protein that gives tissue its ability to stretch and return to shape, like a rubber band doing what it's supposed to do. As collagen provides the structure, elastin provides the flex. Both decline with age. Both are found in pork trotters in concentrations that are simply unmatched in any other single food. Now let me tell you exactly how to prepare them because this is where most people go wrong. The most effective preparation is a long, slow braise. Place the trotters in a pot with enough cold water to cover them. Bring to a boil and immediately discard that first water. This removes impurities. Then add fresh cold water, aromatics like garlic, ginger, bay leaves, and black peppercorns, and simmer on the lowest possible heat for 4 to 6 hours. The finished dish should be rich, gelatinous, and deeply savory. If you can refrigerate the broth overnight and it sets to a firm jelly, you have done it correctly. Consume 3 to 4 servings per week. Each serving provides not only a dense collagen payload, but also significant amounts of zinc, a mineral that directly activates the enzyme responsible for collagen cross-linking, and phosphorus, which supports the mineralization of cartilage. For people who find the preparation daunting, many Asian grocery stores sell pre-cooked pork trotters that can be reheated gently at home. The synergy tip for pork trotters is the most powerful on our entire list today. Pair your trotter meal with a fermented food, kimchi, sauerkraut, or plain probiotic yogurt. Research from the University of California, Davis found that the gut microbiome plays a direct role in how efficiently collagen peptides are absorbed and routed to joint tissue. A healthy, diverse gut flora essentially acts as an amplifier, increasing the amount of collagen peptides that make it from your digestive system into your bloodstream and ultimately to your cartilage. Seniors with depleted gut bacteria, which is extremely common after 60 due to antibiotic use, dietary changes, and natural aging of the gut lining, may be absorbing as little as 40% of the collagen they consume. Fermented foods restore the gut ecology that maximizes collagen absorption, making every meal you eat more effective. My most memorable patient of all was a man named Robert, 80 years old, from a small town outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Robert had been told by 2 orthopedic surgeons that both his knees were bone on bone, and that without bilateral knee replacement surgery, he would likely be wheelchair bound within 2 years. He was frightened. He was skeptical of surgery at his age, and he came to me as a last resort. I put Robert on the full protocol you've heard about today: the eggs in the morning, the sardines twice a week, the chicken foot broth, the beef bone broth every evening, and pork trotters 3 times a week with a side of kimchi. I also addressed his vitamin D deficiency and added vitamin K2 to his regimen. At Robert's 4-month appointment, he walked in carrying a fishing rod. He told me he'd gone fishing for the first time in 6 years the previous weekend and had stood on the bank of a river for 3 hours without needing to sit down. He was not pain-free, but he was living again. He told me, "Doctor, I didn't think I had any good years left." I told him what I'm going to tell you right now. It is never too late. The human body, even at 75, even at 80, even at 85, retains a remarkable capacity for healing when given the right raw materials. Your legs carried you through decades of your life. They walked you down aisles, chased after children and grandchildren, carried you up mountains and across dance floors. They deserve to be supported with the same dedication and love that you've given to everything else in your life. The joints you have today are not simply the joints of a worn-out body. They are joints that are quietly waiting for the nutrients they need to repair, rebuild, and restore. And the beautiful truth of everything I've shared with you today is that none of it requires a prescription. None of it requires a copay. None of it requires you to be young. It just requires you to be willing. Your independence is worth fighting for. Your ability to walk to the mailbox, to play on the floor with your grandchildren, to sleep through the night without being woken by throbbing knees. That is not a luxury. That is your birthright, and I want you to claim it. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do so right now by clicking the subscribe button below. I release new videos every week on topics that matter specifically to men and women over 60. And I promise you, every video is designed to give you real, actionable, scientifically grounded information that you can use starting today. If this video helped you, please share it with someone you love who is struggling with joint pain. It might be the most important thing you share with them all year. And now I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Tell me which food on today's list surprised you the most, and tell me whether you're going to try it this week. I read every single comment, and I look forward to hearing your stories because your stories are the reason I show up here every single week. Take care of your legs. Take care of your joints.